We do have the management of Brigade Enterprises along with us, but before we go to the management, there are a few charts that I also want to bring up. Firstly, when it comes to the analyst recommendation for Brigade Enterprises, 6 out of the 6 analysts on the Bloomberg consensus have a buy rating on this counter. Moreover, the price target, that the consensus price target on Brigade Enterprises entails at least another 10% upside from current market levels. So with the rest of its peers, Brigade Enterprises is one of those stocks which stands to gain, and that is the street view. But let's get an idea about what's going on with the industry and what's really the outlook for the company itself. So for that, we are in conversation with Mr. Pradeep KP, Chief Financial Officer at Brigade Enterprises. Thanks for joining us, sir. My first question will have to do with the trends that you are witnessing in the markets that you are present in. Over the last 1 year, we've heard so much about the slackness in demand for residential as well as commercial projects. But we've also seen a little bit of an improvement in the last 2 or 3 last 2 or 3 months in terms of changes. So can you just give us an idea about how demand has changed and what it means for something like Brigade Enterprises?
All right. So good morning to everybody. So Brigade Enterprises is predominantly in the southern part of the country and has its operations out of Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, Mysore, Cochin, and Mangalore. And we also have a small operation out of the GIFT City in Gujarat. What we have seen over the last couple of quarters, as you're all aware, that we have gone through a demonetization and a RERA and a GST almost one after another. And the industry has been absorbing all these changes over the last couple of quarters. I should say, to a large extent, the impact of demonetization and RERA has more or less been absorbed by the industry. And the GST bit to the whole change is still getting absorbed through the value chain. We believe that in a couple of quarters, we should see some steadiness on that too, going forward. Coming to the demand scenario, well, we did have a little bit of a soft, muted quarter over Q1 and Q2, and the Q3 results are currently in the stage of finalization, so I will not be able to convey. But on a more generic note, the industry has been feeling a little better over the last couple of months, given that a lot of these changes have been absorbed by the industry. A lot of fence sitters, we believe, who are waiting and watching because there were so many changes happening at the same time in the industry. A lot of the fence sitters, we believe, are now coming back to the market, and that should start giving some positive changes as we look at the industry going forward. That's from a residential side of the business. From the commercial leasing side of the business, we've the statistics that we have been seeing over the last couple of quarters indicates that at least in the southern based markets, we've seen a lot of stability, if not actually a lot of supply not coming in for demand that's extent. So if you look at the statistics, it says that 4-5% of properties are unsold. Otherwise, everything else is more or less commercially leased, and that's true of the Chennai market, the Bangalore market, and I should say for some of the other markets in the south too. And if you look at absorption, a typical Bangalore market would absorb in the region of roughly 10 million square foot a year. We are at the half year at around 4.5-5, so I presume that uptick will happen as more properties come onto the market over the next part of the financial.
Sir, you just mentioned that the industry has absorbed, the challenges which were thrown because of demonetization, RERA coming into play, and also GST. If I were to ask you, what has been the net impact of all these things on your financials, whether it has been a negative impact, which is largely being viewed by the market participants, could you quantify that for us?
So it's it's a very difficult quantification that you asked me to do. All I can say is that you've seen the impact of demonetization, RERA and GST start impacting in the sale numbers that you must have been looking at in terms of various players in the industry. That was more or less a Q1, Q2 sort of story. I think going forward, we believe that, like I said earlier, a lot of the fence sitters have come back into the market, and so we are seeing a little bit of genuine demand get back into the market. We're looking over FY19 a lot more positively. To put a number to each of these impacts is very, very difficult.
So I just wanted a clarification. Earlier you said that about 4 or 5% of the inventory unsold. Is that for the markets that you are present in, or are you referring to Brigade Enterprises specifically? And in that case, what are the new product launches that are in line that you can tell us about?
So that was more an industry comment, because the 4-5% is over the markets in Chennai and in Bangalore. For us, the numbers would more or less be around that, if not a little lower, in terms of unsold in the commercial space. Having said that, we have two large launches that we have already announced. One is the Brigade Tech Garden, that's in Whitefield, a 3.3 million square foot launch that we have already started, and the second is the World Trade Center in Chennai of around 2 million square foot. Both of them have been launched, and we're expecting them to be through by FY20 second Q. So these are the two large commercial projects that we have launched over the last 2 quarters. Yeah.
Right. Brigade Enterprises has also been in news recently after you guys bought 13-acre land for almost 218 crore in Bangalore for developing an IT park. Could you give us more details about this acquisition? Was it funded through internal accruals, and what sort of investment are you looking at to develop this park?
Yeah, so we did this acquisition. The acquisition is complete, 12.95 acres for 218 crores in the north of Bangalore. It's strategically located, and the intention is to develop an IT park. We've funded this out of internal accruals, and so we'll come back to you as plans fructify going forward.
So we're also reading about your plans to double the number of hotel rooms. So if you could give us an idea about how you plan to fund this as well as we move in. Right.
So we have currently an inventory of 1,000 keys spread over Sheraton that we have in Bangalore, the Grand Mercure in Koramangala in Bangalore. We have a Grand Mercure in Mysore. We have a Holiday Inn Express in Racecourse Road in Bangalore, and we have a Holiday Inn at Chennai on the old Mahabalipuram Road. So between all of these, we have 1,000 keys. Our intention is to move this up by another 1,000 keys, and as you're aware, we also have an LCLT process currently. We are putting all our hotel inventory under a separate subsidiary,
right.
The intention is also to look for an investor in the subsidiary going forward.
Right. I was just coming to that point, sir, that you are looking for an investor for your hospitality business. Are you in talks with somebody? By when can we see a new investor coming on board?
So it's a work in progress as we speak. We probably look at sometime in FY19 to take the progress on these talks on. Yeah.